Alright, so I wanted to do a video on a corporation that I've sort of like been seeing differently since the first time I played it, and that is Astrodrill. Now, Astrodrill I always thought of as a corporation where you need to get one of the asteroid cards, of which there are I think 7 now, with Ice Impactors, the recent promo, in order to make it just playable, basically, right? And it is pretty asteroid themed, and it's definitely better with, well, most, but some of the asteroid cards. I particularly like Comet Aiming, which with Astrodrill basically lets you play an ocean every turn, and when you run out, you use Astrodrill's ability to just get some titanium off of the asteroids that you have on the corp, right? So yeah, that's basically how I thought of it. But after playing it, yeah, I think it's a bit more flexible and a little better than I originally thought. Now, granted, when I played this, it was a Mega Terraforming Mars game, which there's a video up there explaining what that is, and I played it with Murder Prelude together with Prestar, which is a very strong corporation that sort of looks after Astrodrill's weakness. But I still found Astrodrill's ability surprisingly powerful by itself, and I didn't have any asteroid cards until late in the game, so I decided to basically do some math on how good it actually is. Now, let's look at Astrodrill. So basically it starts with 35 cash, 3 asteroid resources, and for its ability you can do 3 things: either free tap for an asteroid or any standard resource. So those are the 6 resources that you produce in your player mat. Or you can remove an asteroid for 3 titanium. Now, obviously the most powerful combination would be, like by itself, would be to use the second ability to spend all 3 asteroids and then add an asteroid and remove every other gen for 3 titanium every time. The standard resource, I mean, unless you really need a plant or something like that, I basically don't use, or if you don't have any asteroids on the last generation. But yeah, that's pretty much how it plays. And the weakness is clearly the low starting cash. The economy is actually pretty good. The other weakness is that a lot of your economy is going to be titanium, and early it's not that useful, right? But I decided to compare that with at least one corporation that was also sort of space or titanium focused and economy focused in its bonus. And so there's basically 4 corporations that fit this description. One of them is Point Luna, and it's clearly not something I can compare because the great thing about Point Luna is not the economy. Actually, the economy is kind of weak. It's the insane Earth tag ability that lets you draw cards. The other one is Phobulog, and although Phobulog does have an economic ability and is a space company for sure, Phobulog also suffers from being Phobulog, which is one of the weakest corporations in the game, and so I feel like I should. I mean, if I compare it and it's better than Phobulog, that doesn't really tell me much, and I have a feeling that that's going to be the case. And then the other one is Utopia Invest, and now half of Utopia's bonus is steel, and its ability, I often use it for plants. I mean, it's usually titanium or plants near the end of the game, but it would be hard to basically measure against it. I might in the future, but Utopia has a very weird ability that can be played in many ways. And so that brings me to the 4th one, and the one that I decided to use, Saturn Systems. Now, Saturn Systems has, it's very space focused. It comes with Jovian tags. It usually plays well with other Jovian tags, which usually have space tags. It comes with a titanium production, and it also comes with some NC production for added flexibility, which is nice. But yeah, I think this is perfect. Now, I think most people would have this as a middle tier corporation. Some people might be a little bit lower. I'm probably actually a little bit higher on Saturn Systems. I actually quite like it. I think it's more flexible than it lets on. And for more detail on that, you can watch my tier list where I rank it. But yeah, I think it's a bit stronger than that, but at least it's around the middle tier, so I think it's a good comparison. But anyway, let's look at what I built here. Okay, so I just built this here to compare both economies, and so there's okay. So first of all, I'm only taking the economy into account. Saturn Systems obviously comes with a Jovian tech, which if you get multipliers actually means 1 or 2 points, usually up to 4. And Astrodrill comes with an asteroid ability that can interact with 6 or 7 other cards, but because 6 cards is pretty rare and 4 multipliers is also pretty rare, I'm just gonna not count this and just focus on the economy. So let's just assume you never get a Jovian multiplier and you never get an asteroid card and compare them. So otherwise it's kind of hard. Right, so let's go here. So we have gens. Let's explain this spreadsheet. We have generations here. I went up to 10, which is usually what a game takes. And then Astrodrill, I'm tracking the number of asteroids, so it's going to start with 3, and then 2, and then 1, and then 0, and then when I place 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So place 1, remove 1, which is basically what you would do with a card. And then the titanium is basically, if you generate titanium, the generation you get 3, otherwise you get 0. The total titanium will be just adding all the titanium that you've generated all throughout the game, and the mega credit value, I'm just multiplying titanium times 3 to sort of be able to compare to Saturn Systems. Now for the Saturn Systems sheet is more simple even. You have your mega credit income, your titanium income, total mega credits, total titanium, and then the total, which is this plus this times 3 because titanium is worth 3. Now, as a side note, I did add 7 to the total of Saturn Systems from the beginning because it does start with 42 cash instead of 35, so I think it's fair to account for the 7 additional cash that Saturn Systems has at the beginning. So let's see what we have when we sort of run some scenarios. Right, so for Astrodrill, you start with 3 asteroids, and that's gonna do some Excel magic, and we have everything's calculated, right? So asteroids, like I said, you start with 3, then remove, go to 2, remove, go to 1, remove, go to 0, add 1, remove 0, and so on and so forth. And so basically you get 3 titanium the first 3 generations, then on the 4th you're placing an asteroid, and then you get basically 3 titanium every other generation. Now I'm gonna make a little change here. On the last generation you wouldn't just add an asteroid, you would just use the first part of your ability and get 1 titanium. So let's do that, and yeah, there you go. And so your total titanium is, just increasing by 3 throughout the game until in the last generation it's only 1. Obviously, if you got to 11, it would be 3 instead of 1. And then your total MC value is 57, which is pretty high for an economic bonus. Most economic bonuses don't come this high. Don't get this high. Now, 2 things that are, if this was just straight up mega credits, it would be broken, but there's 2 things that go against Astrodrill despite how much titanium you get, and that's 1, that this is all titanium, which is not great early because the cards aren't that efficient economically. I mean, there's things like space hotels, but mostly the efficient economy, cheap economy builders early are Earth and Steel tags. And 2, that you don't start with that much cash. So like you might say, okay, yeah, the reactor's bonus, it's never going to generate 57. That would require 19 Earth tax played. But also the reactor starts with 25 more cash. So if it generates 32, then it's kind of even. And honestly, 32 with the reactor is not bad. So this is still, the 57 is quite good. Now let's do Saturn Systems. And okay, Saturn Systems is a bit more complicated because I do have to take the bonus into account, which is whenever anyone plays a Jovian tag, you get 1. Now, I think I usually what happens when someone is Saturn is the other players will block the Jovians and not play them. That's like 90% of the time, and you'll still get a few Jovians. You probably won't pick it if you don't have Jovians in hand, but you still get some. And then in the final generation, people might play some point Jovians if they have any, and that they won't mind giving you the income because income doesn't matter at that point, right? And so, just as a reminder, it starts with plus 7 there. So let's do MC titanium income first. So first generation you actually have 0 because your income starts in generation 2. And as you can see, I have a total of 7, and the titanium total is 0, but they start with 1 titanium. Of course, you can get more, but I'm only taking into account the corpse economy. And so your income is 1 throughout the game, which, gives you 9 total titanium throughout the game, which is pretty good, right? And that plus the 7, you get to a total of 34. But now your MC income, 0 in Gen 1. Now, in Gen 2 is going to be at least 1, but I'm going to be generous and say that you pick this because you either had a prelude or a card that had Jovian tag, and you play that in the first generation, so you've played 2 tags in the first generation, your income in generation 2 is 2. And then I'm going to say you managed to play a Jovian card every other generation. So 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and then 6 in the 10th, right? And so as you can see, the income is pretty high. It's 68, so it wins by 11 to Astrodrill. And the other thing is that it's more flexible. 34 of it, which is exactly half. Well, plus the additional 7, it would be 41. Is in cash and not titanium, which is a better. Just having 3 cash is always better than 3 titanium, so it's more flexible. But the more important thing here that I want to focus on is how front-loaded Astrodrill's income is, and that's because those 3 asteroid resources on your card let you just get the first 3 generations, right? So like if you compare, I mean they start pretty close, but then Astrodrill pretty much just breaks it. It's up by 10 in generation 3, and then it stays ahead until Gen 8. So on Gen 7 it's winning by 2 still. On Gen 8 is down by 6, and at this point, it well, actually goes back to 5 because that's when you generate with Astrodrill, and then 11 in the last generation. And at this point, if you go 11 12th generation, Saturn is just going to take it because they're just generating 6 plus 1, they're 9 income, which is actually what Astrodrill generates every 2 generations, which is the 3 titanium, right? So at this point, Saturn is just going to go away with it. But it's really interesting to me. I mean, I really, when you look at economic bonuses in corporation, you really care about this early. And honestly, getting 27 cash in titanium in the first 3 generations is very strong. And so I think this is a pretty good corporation. Now, this is a pretty good Saturn system scenario where not only you get Jovians, but I was generous and played them like pretty early. A more common thing might be that you just play your tag in Gen 1 and then you play another one in Gen 2. And then you play most of them towards the end. So let's just say you go 4, 5, 6 at the end and you stay on 3 for most of the time. You see that this is already like a more typical scenario and a loss of income, right? And if you manage to get only 4, so let's say you can only play one every 3 generations. So let's again start with 2, and then 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. Right, something like that. Then they're still ahead, but they don't catch up. Like they're ahead by 5 in the last generation. It's tied until the 9th, right? Of course, it could be the case. Like I think Saturn can get a little more out of hand because you might get really lucky with draws. I mean, I don't think 5 tags, including your corporation tag, is insane for Saturn. You could get luckier with draws and play, 7 or 8. So it definitely has a higher ceiling. But then you can also get lucky with Astrodrill, and even though it requires more luck and just draw, common aiming, which gives you an ocean every other turn. No, sorry, every turn. And that is to me the best combo. But you can also just draw asteroid rights, which it's the cheaper asteroid other than Astrodrill. and you can basically get the 3 titanium regeneration by paying 1, and at that point it's really good. And now that's the final thing I want to say about Astrodrill. I realized that it has the cheapest way to place an asteroid anywhere, and one of the best abilities to spend one, right? At least for economy. Maybe like you want to go for something more points or terraforming, but for economy it probably has the best spending ability for asteroids. Because the other one is asteroid rights, and it's either 1 cash or 2 titanium, and both of those are worse than 3 titanium. So that's really good. That means it combos well with any card. Any card that places for cheap, you can use Astrodrill's second ability. Any card that it's more expensive to place but gets you a terraforming rating, which like rotary impacts, combat aiming, or direct impactors, then you can just place on them with Astrodrill and terraform for free, essentially, once a turn. So yeah, I think it's good. I don't think it's better than Saturn just because of the ceiling in Saturn systems. And the floor on Saturn systems is not even low. Like, I mean, you just saw it with 3. If you, let's just say you stay with 3 attacks towards the end of the game, you still finish ahead, right? And 3 attacks, including your corp, is really bad for Saturn systems. That game did not go as you expected. Of course, I'm taking the 7 cash into account here, but you're only getting 24 total cash from Saturn system bonus, which is not that great, even though that's better than many. So yeah, I think Saturn system is stronger, but I definitely this helps change my mind on Astrodrill. And I think it's playable without the asteroid card. I mean, it's not going to be the strongest option, but it's definitely a good economic. And if you have some space tags that you can use for economy early, then it's definitely worth it. But yeah. Anyway, that's it for my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and see you next time.